So here we are, day 3, and today I have managed to move on to exercise 10, and this exercise is introducing you to some new keys. So it's introducing U, G, Q, L and K. So these are a little bit more of a stretch. So you've got U over here by your spacebar. You've got G up here, so align with M but over to the left. Q over here, which I'm finding really tricky, over on the far side, and L, which is directly above your H. And then K is down here, which is underneath the E. So I've not actually had much time to practice with this. I've been doing quite a lot of poke typing this week, mainly just because I need to functionally get stuff done, and that's a bit of a struggle. But I am finding that I'm getting a bit more familiar with where the keys are, so that's making it a bit easier. Because I'm actually having to look to find the keys, I have a sense of roughly where they are. So we're back on the normal tutorials where you start with the letters themselves that don't necessarily make any sense, and this is just getting your fingers moving between the letters. So I'm going to I haven't actually done these ones yet, so this will be like a first time of practicing. And I was reading some more about posturing in the guide, like the handbook that you get from Maltron, and they were saying that moving between shift and the spacebar, you shouldn't need to move your hand. And so I think previously I probably wasn't quite in the right position because I was needing to physically move my hand. So I'm also looking at making sure I've got the right posture so that I don't end up developing RSI in this hand, because that would be a bit of a problem. So here we go. So come back to the home keys, which is here, and you've got A, G, A, U, E, K, E, A, G, A, U, H, L, H, U. It is definitely getting easier. Oops, that's Q. But yeah, I'm still definitely not fluent. And I did a typing test the other day and it came out at 9 words a minute, which is what I guessed I was typing at. Oops. So I've got a ways to go to get to where I normally would be with two-handed typings. So yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna do a few more rows of this just to get used to it. I find the L really hard. I'm not quite sure why. I think it's coming back to what I said in one of the earlier videos. I'm not used to typing with my little finger, and I think the muscles probably aren't very strong, and I don't have the muscle memory of like moving that finger quite so well. So it's definitely going to get a bit of a workout. And again, I find the Q a bit clunky. I'm not quite used to typing that. One of the things I have found is when you have really complex passwords, like for your LastPass account or something, which are like numbers, letters and symbols, it's hell trying to type that one-handed, because that kind of thing is really muscle memory and you type it really fast, and I'm having to like letter by letter remember what the passwords are, which is a real pain in the neck. But hey, something I guess I'll just have to get used to. I had my physio appointment, and I basically have I injured this part of my wrist, on the outside of my wrist, about 8 weeks ago, and it got inflamed and didn't heal, and now it's turned into a repetitive strain injury, and they reckon about 6 weeks minimum, which is not what I wanted to hear, but there we go. So because I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, it's going to take longer to heal. So it's even more important that I get fluent in using this keyboard as quickly as I can, so that I can make sure that I am typing effectively and not giving myself another injury, for example. So I find these exercises deceptively simple. When you start typing these letters, you're like, oh, this is easy, I can do this. And then you go on to actual words, and and it's not. So these are very simple because their letters are all right next to each other. When you start having to type real words, it it gets much harder. EKEA AGAU. Cool. So let's go on to the next one. Okay, so this is like slightly different order because you're doing a letter and then coming over to U and then H and E. So it's slightly harder than what we were just doing. And you're having to use other keys on the other side of the hand. So it's like your brain is having to make those make that jump between where the key is, remembering which key it is. Yeah. So even the keys that I'm familiar with, that I've been typing for a while, sometimes I have to wait and think, right, which finger is that? I think it's just like I was saying in an earlier video, it's like your brain having to put bits together, and it's maybe not quite running as fast as you'd like it to. Oops. And what's really frustrating is quite often I realise I've made a mistake just as I hit enter, as I hit the key. And I'm like, if I'd have waited just a second and paused, I probably wouldn't have made that mistake. But I'm not a very patient person. Okay. Yeah. So you can see it's like definitely slower doing this kind of typing than the one above because you're having to move across the keyboard more. And what I find is when I'm typing real words, like if I'm having to respond to someone on an email or something like that, I slow down even more because I don't know where the keys are at all. So I'm having to scan the keyboard as well as type. And I'm often not coming back to the home keys because I'm looking down at the keys to see where they are. So my general typing is much slower if I don't come back to the home keys, which is why I'm trying to practice as much as I can so that I just get into the habit and don't have to keep looking. Because also what I find, and you'll probably find this if you're a touch typist, is I'm really not used to looking down at the keys. I'm used to watching what I'm typing and watching the conversation so that I can respond. Like what I've found is I've been halfway through writing something, got to the end, and then what I've written is not appropriate because the conversation's moved on. And that's really, really frustrating. But that will go with time, I guess. So it does get easier once you've done the letters a few times. You do start to get used to where everything is. So I could definitely notice getting faster as I was moving down through these. And as you can see, all of these are just exploring the letters, and then the next exercise after this will be using words that constructed from those letters. So I'll just see if I can find the typing test that I was doing the other day. Okay, there we go. So this has got words that I'm not familiar with and capitalization and punctuation. So the one I did before just had words, so this could be an interesting one. And I guess this is more like what I would be typing in the real world. So let's see. Oh wow. Yep. Wow, 12 words a minute. So, getting there. Still nowhere near my usual 80 odd words a minute. But yeah, I'll keep practicing. And actually, that's not bad given that a lot of those letters are letters I haven't yet covered in the training. So, yeah, check back in tomorrow and we'll see where we're at then.